One Star Cowboys podcast coming to you Sunday evening after a Cowboys win over the New York Jets 37-22. We'll hear from Father John Machota out at MetLife here in a little bit. But for now, let's talk to Saad Youssef. We've got Kent Garrison here. I'm Kevin, coming to you Sunday night after the Cowboys win. After last week's tie, kind of nice to have a bit of a blowout win. I don't know how many blowout wins we're going to have this year, but it was nice to get one.
Yeah, I thought the Cowboys kind of, asserted themselves early, and I think it comes back to something we've talked about continuously, and I know it's repetitive, but Dak Prescott, the way that he's playing right now is just he gives the Cowboys such a good chance. And there was a lot of big plays, a lot of big touchdowns and everything that were made throughout this game. But the one that kind of, I guess if you're looking for a simple play example of just how much of a zone he's in, it was early on in the game. It was, I think, George Pickens' first catch of the game maybe was the quick slant on third down. And you can just tell not only was the throw phenomenal, but just everything Dak did, taking the play clock down to the final seconds, setting up everything that he saw on the defense, and to hit George Pickens on that quick slant. There's that. And then also, I remember last year, Dak continuously being asked about plays with his legs and if he's going to be able to run and stuff. And now he is a threat to run the ball now. And I don't mean that in the sense that he's Lamar Jackson, but I just mean that if you give him space, he'll at least make you pay and slide. And, he's a multi-threat a little bit at this point. So just everything that Dak's doing right now, I think that's where this kind of starts for me.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, we've done this for so long. How many times over the years did we go, Tyron Smith's out, and I know Chaz Green is the popular name that comes to mind, or Sean Lee is out. How are we going to get any stops on defense? We've done this for years. For them to have 4 offensive linemen out and to honestly protect Dak very well and to get it done that easily, it either says a lot about the Jets or it says a lot about Brian Schottenheimer, Clayton Adams, and all the guys on the offensive coaching staff for the Cowboys. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but you really have to go back a long time to where you're like, man, if 1 or 2 of those big injuries has always seemingly derailed this team, and to get by with 4 out is just incredible.
And shout out in particular to Nate Thomas because at left tackle, that's such an important position, obviously on the offensive line. And that's also maybe the one spot where I can see there actually being a competition when the starter is healthy. I don't think Tyler Guyton has done enough in his year plus to just act like he's like the default guy. I'm not saying I would say Nate Thomas should be in over him if he's healthy right now. But I'm just saying it could be a conversation, whereas, once Tyler Smith is ready to be back, he's going to be back in. I would say the same thing about Cooper Beebe as well and your first-round pick, Tyler Booker. But the left tackle spot could get interesting because I was really impressed with Nate Thomas, and I'm curious to see how it kind of plays out when Guyton is healthy.
Yeah, and Tyler Smith should be good to go next week, so you're good there. See where we're at on Tyler Booker. Possibly, but not looking well. Like, this is where Terrence Steele and how his tape looks will be a good evaluation because they may say, okay, well, Nate Thomas might be able to slide over there if we want to do that. If Tyler Guyton comes back, there's a lot to think about, and that's just way down the line. I look at this game and the way it started out, a 13-play, 66-yard drive for the Jets, and I've kind of said this a few times on this podcast, and I truly do feel this way. I don't think the bend don't break is a great way to play when you have an offense like the Cowboys, like we think the Cowboys offense can be. I don't think keeping Dak Prescott off the field is a good plan, but in theory, it kind of worked today just from the beginning because they were able to hold them, even though the Jets took 7.5 minutes off the clock in the first quarter, able to hold them to 3. Who knows what this game's like if they pump in a touchdown there and things get mopey. We've seen that before. I don't know, not necessarily in the Schottenheimer regime, but I just think that was like a big stop right there where the football hit the sky cam. That was pretty dope too. Never seen that before. I just think like it's a way that we've seen them play sometimes, and it worked well today. And maybe Justin Fields is the perfect quarterback to play that way against, who eats up man and struggles against zone defense. But I just thought that was kind of a crucial play early on in the game.
Yeah, and also misapplied by the rule book too. For what it's worth, it should have been a replay down when they hit the sky cam by the NFL rule book. Yeah, so that's an automatic redo, and they got it wrong on the field. They got it replay assist didn't come in, and also it's a challengeable play that the Jets didn't challenge. But it should have been 3rd and goal once again after it hit Fowler and went up. That's in the NFL rule book on the dead play in the dead play section. So yeah, I mean that's huge because to your point, KT, that was the longest drive of the Jets season, and it only resulted in 3 points. Now, I don't think the Jets win the game or anything close to that if that doesn't happen. But to your point, it did change the entire dynamic of it.
Okay, so you know how this is when we're watching these games, and it's been a few hours since the game's been over, but you're watching these games, and then if you are on social media during commercials and things like that or whatever, you know, God knows what your timeline's feeding you at the time. You are the first person I've heard talk about this. That was like Aaron Glenn shouldn't have known that rule. I don't think, should he? I mean, that's a wild one. If he hit Skycam, I've never even heard of that. But
yeah,
you're right. We've done this with the punts when it hits the yes. Jumbotron.
Yeah, and all those things kind of fall into the same category in terms of, you know, whether it's the big screen or whatever. It's all supposed to be a redo on that. So the fact that it didn't, I mean, the Cowboys, you know, that's not really on them. But yeah, so it's Rule 7, Section 2, Article 7 says if a loose ball in the play strikes a video board, guide wire, sky cam, or any other object, the ball will be dead immediately and the down will be replayed at the previous spot. In the event the down is replayed, the game clock will reset to the time remaining when the snap occurred. Clock will start unless there's like all penalties will be disregarded except for personal fouls and unsportsmanlike. So yeah, it should have been replayed.
That's unbelievable. That's I mean, oh, what another angle to the game. Sorry, I didn't think about that. It's been hours since the game's been over. I didn't think about that. Going back,
it didn't matter.
It did. It probably didn't matter.
Yeah,
like
it probably didn't matter. But it's just just another thing for the Jets.
For all our momentum fans out there, it didn't matter. A lot of people out there though. Real
quick. I just want to, for me, if you asked me to kind of, you know, boil this down to a play of the game type thing, Javonte Williams' big run at the end of the first half, I thought swung the entire game open in another way. Again, kind of like we're talking about the Skycam thing. I think the Cowboys win even without that or whatever, but just how big that play was for the Cowboys and the way that it kind of got them going, I thought that was a huge play. And on a day where Rico Dowdle in Carolina went for 206, I think, on the ground, and the Cowboys obviously didn't re-sign him. I think Javonte Williams, that whole thing has been fantastic. It's the first time since 2016 that the Cowboys have had 100-yard rushing in the first 5 games of the season. So, and in 2016, that went 15 games in. But yeah, I mean, I think Javonte Williams has been huge overall, and I thought that run was really, really big for them.
Yeah, no, that's huge because, I mean, when you look at that entire game and where we were around that time, we were a 1-score game with just a little over 2 minutes left, and the Maris Leofau fumble is huge. I mean, the Jets are crawling in there and are about to score. Yeah. Breece Hall had already broke a 20-yard run, you know, at the middle, and then he has another one. And then for the Cowboys to get in there and punch the ball out right there and Sam Williams to fall on it just over the 2-minute warning. And the Cowboys, you know, really quickly get down the field. There's the huge, you know, 46-yard play to Flournoy and then to Flournoy. I always say the R and I shouldn't. To Flournoy. Mm-hmm. Like, you're sitting there and they end up scoring on that drive on the 5-yard touchdown run from Javonte Williams that made it 17-3. And at that point, Ryan Flournoy had 104 yards. And then to get the ball back, like, you're right. You get the double sack from Kenny Clark and James Houston. Cowboys start popping timeouts, and then the 66-yard run, which, appeared to be a kind of going nowhere play, like you said, and for him to run through it, and there's ball game. It's over, just like that.
And look, we would be badly mistaken if we didn't talk about the pass rush in this game, because the pass rush was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, when you trade away Micah Parsons, you expect the pass rush to look like basically what it looked like the first 4 games of the season. The reason why, I kind of take everything with a grain of salt on the defensive side is just because of the Jets offense and who Justin Fields has been. I think Junior Miller made a good point on Twitter as well, that last year let me pull it up real quick. But last year, the Cowboys held the Pittsburgh Steelers, led by Justin Fields, to 17 points, and then gave up 47 to Detroit, 30 to San Francisco, 27 to Atlanta, 34 to Philadelphia, and 34 to Houston in the next game. So again, I'm not saying the pass rush is solved, but it was really impressive. I thought they did a really good job, and James Houston continues to be a player that just came out of nowhere and is having a huge impact for this team. So I think the pass rush was great.
This is going to be one of those games too where it's a tricky box score game when you go look at it, because Justin Fields was 32 of 46 with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Those 5 sacks are huge and big negative plays. Breece Hall, even 8 yards a carry, 14 for 113. The thing about Justin Fields is he was not getting a ton down the field, and he has struggled against zone defenses in his NFL career. And this is it was a perfect storm for Eberflus today, I think, when it came to that. And honestly, when we did our podcast leading up to this game on Tuesday, I was not really aware of that. As the week went on, I started to look at a few things, and it's okay, man defense, he's a man killer. And I think it's why they had a lot of success when they were kind of just spreading it out when they were behind. And the Cowboys are obviously easing up a little bit, but they were able to do some things that basically they don't care if he runs. And when you can play that way and get ahead, well, there's the formula. You see the easy formula. It's all simple how all this works. It's just very hard to do that very often in the NFL, to go get ahead by 2 touchdowns. And it's just really wild to me, though, that 28 minutes into this game, this was a 10-3 game with the Jets driving. So it is a blowout, and it's awesome, and everyone should enjoy it and get ready for the Panthers. But there's a lot that happened in a small window of time there, including the luck of, getting the ball to start the second half as well, that was able to let you kind of put this game away early.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on the third phase of the ball, a little bit of an off game for Brandon Aubrey. Obviously had the extra point off the upright, which was pushed back because of a penalty, but had a kickoff out of bounds as well. You don't see that often from him. But again, in a blowout game, you kind of have the luxury to have a little bit of an off day from that position. But overall, I mean, I don't know that I feel so I don't feel like I feel too much different about the Cow. We've had these feel things where you lost against the Eagles, but you came out feeling good. You beat the Giants, but you came out not feeling so great. I don't think this game really changes my view on the Cowboys at all. I mean, to me, this is what they should have done to a bad team. I hate to not give them credit, but to me, I think the Panthers game next week will tell me a little bit more. The Panthers had a little bit of a better win against the Miami Dolphins earlier today, and they're a little bit just more put together as a football team. So I'm not saying that you can't beat a bad team and change how you're feeling, but the only thing that really does impress me about the Cowboys in this game is just how much they overcame injuries, because that could have been a real excuse. I don't think it's the Cowboys' injuries even come close to measuring up to what the Ravens are going through, but the Ravens are going through a lot of injuries, and they look just like they don't even belong on the same level of where they were pre-injuries. And again, the Ravens' injuries far more significant than the Cowboys, but we've seen injuries derail teams before, and the Cowboys were able to get through it.
No, 100%. And, this is where the Cowboys should – we talked about this early, when the schedule was out. Okay, first 6 games, let's get out of there at 4-2. If you can get out of there at 4-2, that's a good thing. There are alterations that you could make heading into week 6, where you can go, okay, I can close my eyes, and this team could be 4-1. Okay, and even more realistically, they could be 3-2.
Yeah,
to be 2-2-1 is so disappointing, but every game's been close besides the Bears game. And today, I guess. But that Bears game, I ask a lot of questions about that Bears game and what the hell was going on there, because by week 3, I think you'd be hoping for a little bit of a change defensively, some more wrinkles. I mean, the Cowboys' first third down of the game today, they brought an extra guy, which, they haven't been, doing very often. So we've seen this a little bit, and it was weird to preach about or to talk about it in a 40-40 tie last week. Was like, we did see a couple things with the defense that inspired some hope that maybe they're willing to change. And then it all came in bunches today. We have a sack and a half from James Houston. Sam Williams got one. Osa got one. Half sack for Kenny Clark. Dante Fowler got one. Dante Fowler was in the backfield a lot. He had 5 hits on the quarterback. A lot there to be happy with. But I think game theory and where you're at really kind of did set a lot of that up once they got ahead by that much.
Yeah, and I think looking ahead for the Cowboys, it's funny because we've been Grim Reapers on here before, especially after that Chicago game. But now when you look ahead, your next few games are at Carolina, against Washington at home, at Denver, who just beat the Eagles, and that's going to be a very difficult game, and then Arizona at home and Vegas at Vegas, which they look awful right now. And that's before you get into the really tough stretch of the season that we talked about before. But of that tough stretch, I think, all those games still look pretty tough except for the Minnesota game, which I think has come down a little bit in terms of how you view the Vikings at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys have the next 5 weeks or so, including the bye week, to really figure all this stuff out and get going. I don't think one loss to the Chicago Bears. I think if it was a lot of other teams, we would be able to kind of look past it as okay, it was just you just laid an egg and you kind of move forward. Because of everything we know about the Cowboys, we kind of took it a little harder. But I don't think I think the Cowboys still have a good chance.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the next 5 games, you're right. Not a single one of those games you're just going, well, there's a loss.
Yeah,
they all are. And, after the Bears game, we might have been like, how the hell are they going to? But you just kind of look at it, and this is why you don't make overreactive judgments at any time in September. You just play the games and figure it all out. But man, that Carolina game seems very winnable. The Washington game seems winnable unless they, at Denver could be. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a test. It's gonna be a test. Yeah. How about Sean Payton right there, 17-16, as a guy who's been hard on Sean Payton his entire career. Both of us have, actually. I think, 17-16, 7 minutes left in the game. He says, screw it, let's go for 2. And they get up 18-17.
And that was a huge point, and that was a huge thing, not just for the way that obviously the Eagles the Eagles obviously trailing, but it goes all the way. The trickle down effect was all the way to the final possession, because if it was just a tie game and the Broncos settle for a field goal, all of a sudden Philly just needs a field goal on that last possession to tie the game, send it to overtime. So it kind of went on, and the Eagles needed a touchdown, which they weren't able to get. I thought that pass interference, the no call pass interference, was a really, really tight one there at the end.
It was tight. I support it though. Put the flags up in the final minutes. I support it.
Yeah. So that was great. And now we're kind of looking. We're looking at one undefeated team, and the Bills are playing right now on Sunday Night Football. So I think this is the NFL though. It's parity, and the Eagles, they were undefeated. But I said this last week on The Athletic in my weekly column that goes up on Thursdays. The Eagles. There's probably 2-3 teams in the NFC right now that I would have taken over the Eagles just because of how they've looked. But I still gave the Eagles the nod and put them as the top team in the NFC because there's enough of a track record to where they get the job done. But if you remember, this bunch, a couple years ago when they started struggling and started going off, they were still getting a win here or there, but it spiraled pretty quickly. So we'll see where the Eagles go from here. But I don't think it's the panic button, but it's not great right now.
No, something just smells bad there, But they smelled bad really at this time last year, and ended up clobbering the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So long way to go. Feel good about Dak. Feel good about Ryan Flanoy stepping up. I was surprised that Jalen Tolbert only got one target in this game. As far as we know, he's healthy, right? Nothing going on there. I thought that would kind of be a guy who had a big game, and they really had a lot. They had a lot planned for Ryan Flanoy. I mean, they had the handoff, one of the first plays of the game on offense, to give him the ball. They're trying to get him involved. Obviously, Jake Ferguson back in the end zone 2 more times. Kind of your solid Jake Ferguson 7 catches for 49 yards game. We get a lot of those. You know what he is? Our guy Hunter Lipke got a catch. How about that? It was a big one on 3rd and 10. Plowed ahead.
Yeah, it was a big one. I think another thing looking ahead for the Cowboys, when Jonathan Mingo is back, which his window to return is open now, I think Tolbert's basically your number 5 receiver at this point, right?
I think so too. Yeah.
So, I mean, really number 5 receiver and probably number 6 in the passing game if you factor in Jake Ferguson as well.
It says a hell of a whole lot that with CeeDee Lamb and Turpin out that he gets 1 target.
Yeah.
But, who knows if that's different. Again, that could be a game theory thing too. Like it looks bad and that's what it is at face value. But, if it's 17-17 in the third quarter and we're trying to, throw the ball around a little bit or you get behind, who knows? Maybe he does get involved a little more. That was kind of wild for Flanoy to get, someone needed to step up though, because we knew George Pickens, it was going to be tough. And they ended up getting him a touchdown, late in the game, but 2 catches for 57 yards, only targeting 4 times is largely because he's, has Sauce Gardner on him for a good portion of the game. And they were able to pay a lot of attention to him and double team him at times and things like that. So makes a lot of sense. Yeah, a lot to feel good about. Going on the road, sneaky. I was the only one on the show who did not pick them. And the reason being is not at the time when we did the picks last week, 3 offensive linemen, about 4, for it to turn into 4 offensive linemen and then win that impressively is saying something. That is a big statement to me.
Yeah.
That just means it's a W, no more than that. But gee whiz, man, I could not have. I don't know why it's always Chaz Green, but you name it, and we've all been doing this for a long time. But it's usually the one or 2 guys go out. Big name guys were always like, "Oh God, it's over. What are we gonna do?" They were able to shut down games because they weren't fully healthy sometimes in the past.
Yeah, I think I think you're absolutely right about that. To my basically 2 things, I do think it was somewhat of a statement win because of the injury factor. Now you carrying the opponent, it doesn't change a whole lot of how I feel about the Cowboys. I think both of those things can be true. I think if they went in and there weren't the injuries and they beat the Jets this way, I don't think it would have really done much for me. I mean, the Jets are 0-5 at this point, so there's only so much that you get from that. But the Cowboys aren't going to suddenly be fully healthy next week when they go to Carolina. They might get, like you said, Tyler Smith back. They could still be 3 down on the offensive lineman at that point. They'll still be down, obviously, CeeDee Lamb. We'll see what happens with Turpin and some of the other injury guys. But yeah, I mean, that will be a bigger test for them a little bit, and I'm curious to see how they come out of that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Saad, or Kent, you got any thoughts that you'd like to add in to this thing after 37-22?
Aaron Glenn shouldn't have a job. I don't know how they go on. He ain't the guy. So
I think it's a full factory reset right there. And I know there's a lot of young guys, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and you name it. But that was a rough deal, especially in learning, that he got after Monday night after they lost to Miami, and then to Lord knows what happened in there today.
Yeah,
quite a scene.
Yeah, and today's just another reminder about what it feels like to have a quarterback like Dak Prescott.
No doubt. You don't want to be in that boat chasing Justin Fields like the Jets.
You don't want to be in no man's land or in a place where you don't know. There's nothing worse than that. So today's another reminder, like, man, it's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, boys, I'm going to settle in for the second half of Bills and Patriots here. But before we get out, or I might just throw it on Austin City Limits. The Killers are playing, right there over on Hulu. So I might just swing over and throw that on as we approach the 9 o'clock hour here on Sunday night. Let's go out to MetLife Field. He's not still in the press box. He actually sent this to us. Father Jon Machota will take us home as always. We'll be back in a few days. We'll get you ready for the Panthers. We got Ted McMillan. We got Rico Dowdle, Bryce Young. That's a fighting team. Tommy Trimble, the tight end. You watch out for the Carolina Panthers. We will break them down, get you ready a little bit later in the week. Make sure you're following Saad's stuff over on The Athletic. My goodness. Get over there. Check it out. Follow him on Twitter, X, all that stuff. For Kent Garrison, that Mad About Movies podcast, I just wrapped up a couple days ago, the One Battle After Another review. All-timer, dude. All-timer.
Great.
It's an all-timer
Masterpiece.
podcast. I appreciate
Thank you.
that. Also, we'd like for you to follow at Haymaker Network on social media. Full video soon, we promise. Soon. Just got to tidy up a few things. Full video soon. For Saad, for Kent, I'm Kevin. Let's go up to New York and Father Jon Machota.
Leaving MetLife Stadium, I'd say my biggest takeaway from this game is that the Cowboys did what they needed to. It's easy to sit there and talk about how bad the Jets are and say, well, it's an awful team, you should beat them. And I get that. They should have beat the Jets. It would have been inexcusable to lose to that Jets team. Don't get me wrong. But being down that many starters on offense, basically having 4 new offensive linemen out there, not having CeeDee Lamb, not having Kevontae Turpin. I mean, those are things that you do have to factor in. This is the NFL. And that's a lot of guys down on your offense. And for them to perform the way that they did, Dak again, 4 touchdown passes, continues to look great. George Pickens stepping up when he needs to. Javonte Williams in the run game looking way better than I think most people expected. So obviously a lot of credit goes to Javonte, especially doing that behind that offensive line. But then I think a lot of credit has to go to Clayton Adams too. I mean, that's a pretty big ask to turn what he has into as good of a running game as he has. And so certainly he deserves a lot of praise for this as well. And the defense, I get it. It's still not very good. A long way to go before I would say that this is a playoff team, and a lot of that is because of the defense. The offense is a playoff-level offense. There's no doubt about that. To do that with those starters down, obviously with the starters all out there together, you get back CeeDee Lamb, Kevontae Turpin. That's one of, if not the best offenses in the NFL. But that's still a lot to ask with that defense, because that defense might just be the worst defense in the NFL. So I think that there was a chance in that game where it could have been close, if not for that Maris Leah foul, punching the ball out late in that second quarter. To sit there and turn that momentum like that had 10-10 halftime written all over it before that play happened. Then all of a sudden, those back-to-back touchdowns from the offense, just huge turning point in the game. And I think that was good to see that. I do think that there are positives for the way that Brian Schottenheimer has been coaching. I think the team buys into him. I think that he deserves a lot of credit for this win, coming off of that tie against the Packers. They could have easily laid an egg early in this game, and I don't know that would have totally surprised me, especially with, all the moving parts. Nate Thomas starting, Akeem Adeniji starting, things like that could have caused problems, and it didn't. They were able to overcome that. And so now you just sit there and you just look at this team and you go, okay, well, how will they fix this defense? How will this defense continue to get better? I think getting overshown whenever that does happen, if it isn't another couple weeks, month, whatever it is, no one's really saying definitively when that is. I think that helps a lot. More playing in the system, I think, will help as well. I don't think at any point that this will be a really good defense. I think it could be a solid defense, but I still think that that's probably several weeks away from even them being on that level. And then also, hey, they lose this game. The alternative is they lose this game, and now you're looking at a 4 or 5 win team. Whereas they win this game, for me personally, I think they're right back to where I was thinking they were probably about 2 weeks ago. I think this is probably around a 500 team. 8-1. I mean, maybe you get a bounce here or there and you maybe upset a team. Maybe you get to 9 wins. You probably need double digits to make the playoffs. I don't think that they're a playoff team yet. They would have to do considerably more, especially on defense, for me to say that. I know that Brian, he's preaching that. They feel like that's a possibility. I still think that's asking for a lot. But like I said, the alternative, though, would have been to lose this game, and then you're looking at it as like, no, I don't know how you get back on track. Like, yeah, maybe you win against Carolina, but there aren't many more wins left on this schedule if you can't beat that Jets team. And they took care of that. And so pretty solid game from the Cowboys. Excellent first half for sure. But there's still obviously things that need to get picked up and cleaned up, and most of them are on the defensive side of the ball. If I was Jerry Jones, I would be trying everything I could to improve that defense, whether it be with draft picks or whatever I needed to do. I just don't think that all the pieces that they need are there to have the type of turnaround on that side of the ball that they would really need to be a playoff team. So we'll see if he does that or not. He's been preaching that they got guys coming on the way, talking about, J.W. and Clowney. The longer he plays, the better impact he'll have, talking about Overshown and things like that. I think you need more than what's on the roster right now, but we'll see if they do anything or if they stand pat. That would say a lot to me about what they think this team can be if they make a type of move. And that's kind of a baseball type thing. During the trade deadline, you can kind of tell which teams are in and which teams are not. And if they don't make any moves, that to me says that the front office, I don't know that they really believe that this is a playoff team, because there are pieces that are needed. So will they do that during the season, or will they wait till the offseason to add to those and correct those? We'll see. But as I leave the stadium right now, I'd say that 2-1 is about what this Cowboys team is. Solid, with a chance to be, maybe a 9-win team. But yeah, right on track to what I would think would be an 8-1 season. And I'm sure that'll make some people not happy, but that's just where they're at.
You know what high is? High means high! For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, blue label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.